Rule at the IISS that we have no virtual presentations at our in-person international security dialogues. The exception to that rule we have made is for the president of the largest European country in a secret location in his capital who is defending his state from invasion by a major power. This tragic war has reminded us of the characteristics of leadership and strategy. Mr. Zelensky, in your previous profession, you needed to know your audience and keep in touch with its feelings. As president, you have had to unite your country and speak to the world. Your responsibilities are enormous. You have carried them with humility and dignity, remembering your roots in the mining town of Kryvyi Rih while leading your people fighting a battle for national survival. Modern war is sometimes characterized as war amongst the people. You have stayed amongst your people in villages, towns, cities, and the countryside during this conflict, as you have daily revealed the ruthlessness of the enemy who you face. A hot head and a cold heart lead to bad strategy. Good strategy is conducted with a cool head and a warm heart. It is your cool head and warm heart that have been the brand of strategic leadership you have shown to your people and to the wider world. We have gathered here in Singapore, Mr. President, defense ministers and chiefs of defense staff concerned with the security of the Indo-Pacific region. The war in Ukraine, for some, appears distant, but its effects are now global. We thought it vital that they hear from you. We thank you, Mr. President, for being with us and look forward to your special address to us. Mr. President.
Thank you very much indeed. Dear participants of the Shangri-La dialogue, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Director, I'm grateful for the honor to deliver this address. When I was preparing for this meeting with you, so far, a virtual meeting, but hopefully many offline meetings are yet to come during my future visits to your region after we win in this war. So, when I was preparing to this meeting, I was told about one girl. She wrote me a letter asking to support an initiative called Spray Paint Ukraine. This is the initiative aimed at helping Ukraine. She created this image, NFT picture, and presented me with this shirt for me to wear it, thus helping everyone to discover her initiative. And I thought to myself that this situation, this request from this girl, her idea, her confidence that the president of Ukraine will really respond to her initiative and that I will be willing to help is of crucial importance. And I'm wearing this shirt today. And this can be helpful in explaining why Ukraine has garnered so much support worldwide and why we are definitely going to prevail in this war which Russia has started. Can you imagine, for instance, the president of Russia responding to such an initiative? Would he respond to this initiative? Would he just read the letter coming from the embassy in Singapore proposing to support the idea of a girl whom he doesn't know? Would he wear the shirt? I think that this is impossible. And this is what is really happening. This is the confrontation between the possible, which we and many people in the world need, and the impossible, for which Russia is so desperately fighting for. Russia strives to render it impossible for a neighboring country, which it regards solely as its colony, to be able to exist freely and independently. This is exactly why the Russian army has killed thousands of our people and deported to its territory hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians. Cruise missiles alone, Russia has used 2,595 cruise rockets against us in 108 days. Russia wishes to make it impossible for our people to use their land, resources, and water in their best interest. Russia wishes to steal it and is actively looting the territory which it has managed to occupy. They are taking away literally everything, ranging from cars, which are left near houses on the streets, to equipment from the captured enterprises, from metal to grains. Just imagine how low Russia has stooped if its representatives have stolen from our city of Mariupol, which has been completely razed to the ground by the Russian army, even a few surviving trolleys. This is Russian greatness manifested in stealing trolleys. Russia wishes to make it impossible for the nations of the world to be confident about freedom of navigation, confident of this basic freedom for peace and prosperity in every corner of our planet. Since the first minutes of the full-scale war against Ukraine, Russia blocked our ports on the Black Sea with its own fleet. Over the time of this war, Russian troops have attacked peaceful merchant vessels and directed their missiles against our port infrastructure. The Black Sea today is the most perilous sea in the world, and the responsibility for it rests squarely with Russia, although as early as 23rd of February this year, on the eve of this war, a free and unimpeded and safe navigation was possible in the Black Sea. I can continue mentioning these examples endlessly, the examples of what Russia seeks to make impossible, and I'm confident that in many of these examples you can find something that is of value to you, something that makes your life so important to you, and I'm confident that you have a keen interest in ensuring that the lives of your people are free and independent. You have a keen interest in preserving your culture, your resources, and ensuring that no one loots your property, and ensuring that no one plunders your cultural treasure, ensuring that no hostile fleet makes your seas hazardous for navigation. Russian propaganda is assiduous in spreading in many countries the disinformation campaign that Russia's war against Ukraine is ostensibly something about NATO, about the role of the United States, about the intention of the West to somehow advance in Europe. But in reality, Russia's war against Ukraine is not only about Europe. It is about globally important things. Russian leadership strives to discard all the achievements of the historical development of humankind, particularly the system of international law which we have today. And it wants to come back to the life of the 19th century, or even before that, when it was impossible to ensure the harmonious development and well-being for billions of people. And this is why I want to remind you of the words of a person whom you know very well. If there had been no international law and the big fish ate the small fish and the small fish ate shrimps, we would not have existed. These are wise words of Lee Kuan Yew, the leader who was perspicacious enough to see the clear reasons of many things and processes, and who knew exactly what is of value. And that is why I'm sitting before you in this shirt. And this is why I responded to a request of a girl from Singapore. We must value our opportunities. We must value what has become possible thanks to wise leadership in in the past, thanks to the struggle of many generations, of many peoples. We must value the things that give us a chance to exist in peace and work for the common good of our peoples and in the world. And therefore, we must stop Russia. We must stop the war which this state has started against my state, trying to bring the world back in the old times when the freedom of peoples and people's lives were of no significance at all. We must break the ability of Russia and any other country in the world to block, seize, and destroy the freedom of navigation. If it's about sanctions, then we need sanctions. If it's about symmetrical measures to limit the servicing of Russian ships in ports, then we need these measures. Russia must feel that its belligerent policies will have consequences for itself as well. And if there are no such consequences, and if due to Russian blockade we are unable to export our foodstuffs, which is so sorely missing in global markets, the world will face an acute and severe food crisis and famine in many countries of Asia and Africa. The shortage of foodstuffs will inexorably lead to political chaos, which can result in the falling of many governments and the ousting of many politicians. And this is already plain to see. This looming threat is plain to see by just looking at the skyrocketing prices for basic products on the world markets and in certain countries. This is the direct consequence of the acts of the Russian state. And therefore, finally, we must restore the full might of the international law. Since 24th of February this year, the Russian missile strikes have killed 287 children. And this is just what we can tell you officially. We do not know so far how many people are buried in mass graves in the occupied territories and how many corpses are there in the rubbles of houses that the Russian army is controlling so far. The killings and tortures, the deportation, the destroyed cities, the usage of prohibited munitions, particularly phosphorus bombs, the blackmailing with chemical nuclear weapons, all of this, for all of this, any country, including Russia, must be held to account. And we can make it possible if we are acting in a concerted way, although Russia will definitely try to make this impossible too. We can ensure the reform of the United Nations to make all countries abide by international law and to prevent violations of world order. The UN system, particularly the UN Security Council, do not give equitable representation to the majority of peoples of the world. The voice of many regions of the planet is not listened to exactly when it is so vital. If this reform has already taken place, we would have been able to respond to any aggression, not only Russia's aggression, on the global level. Ladies and gentlemen, I am grateful for your support to Ukraine. I am grateful for your attention to Ukraine, to our country. But please remember that this support and this attention is not only for Ukraine, but for you as well, to ensure that our and your future is safe. It is on the battlefield in Ukraine that the future rules of this world is being decided, along with the boundaries of the possible. So let us save the whole world from coming back to the times when everything was decided based on the so-called right of might, and when certain peoples and their ideas and many nations were of no consequence. Thank you. Glory to Ukraine.
Thank you very much indeed.
Mr. President, thank you very much. You've been kind enough to give us a few more moments for questions and answers. I have 4 or 5 people who wish to ask a question. Just before you appeared on our screens, I was telling all the people in this audience, 575 delegates from 40 countries, that one of the things that the IISS values is the nurturing of young talent. And just 2 weeks ago, we hired in our IISS Europe office a Ukrainian national, an expert on economic sanctions and strategy. So I think it's right that she asked the first question, Maria Shagina.
Thank you, Dr. Chapman. Пане президенте, як проста дівчина з Кривого Рогу, хочу дуже щиро вам подякувати за вашу незламність у протистоянні російської агресії та стійкість у підтриманні міжнародних правил та норм. Це головна тема тут на конференції. Mr. President, as a simple girl from your hometown, Kryvyi Rih, I would like to thank you for the ongoing fight against the Russian aggression in Ukraine and your clear determination in upholding international rights and norms. This is the key theme of the Shangri-La dialogue. My question goes to the topic you mentioned earlier, is the issue of global food security. As we know, the situation is getting more urgent, more dire by the day, and negotiations to solve the issue of humanitarian crisis that will have wide ramifications for the global south hasn't been successful so far, including the recent negotiations with Turkey. So from the Ukrainian perspective, from your point of view, what would be the best strategy of global scale response to the humanitarian situation, and what security guarantees would Ukraine welcome? Thank you.
Thank you for this question. You know, about all, these days, to deliver the answer to the second part of your question regarding the security guarantees to Ukraine, I'd like to start with talking about food security crisis, but because this is not something related solely to our country. This is something that touches upon the Asia, European countries and African countries, the deficit, food shortage and famine, which I have mentioned. What is important to know? There is nothing else to mention that is already happening. Russia has blocked the Black and Azov Seas. It is only Russia that is blocking them. And Ukraine understands that 25 billion tons of corn and sunflower oil and wheat must be destined to the countries that I have mentioned to forestall this deficit, this crisis. But it is already there, and prices are growing. Russia is threatening if some countries are destined to Ukraine. Russia is threatening the world with its maritime presence by violating international law. That is why we had conversations with mediators, with the United Nations and Turkey, with the United Kingdom, Canada, and many other European countries. Now discussions are underway concerning the format. We do not believe Russia. We are ready to communicate with the civilized world. Therefore, we support the format of a safe transport corridor, maritime corridor, comprised of the ships of our partners, which will be used to export our grain. If it is not possible, if it is not done, if there are no ships of countries that can be trusted, so the situation will remain unchanged. In parallel, we understand the risks and the threats. Therefore, we are developing ties with the Baltic Sea countries and Poland. We are discussing formats of railway transportation. We are already doing it. We are already exporting more than 2 million tons per month. But this is not enough. This is not sufficient, because via sea, we can export 10 million tons of grain. Therefore, we are pursuing this format. But everyone present here and my fellow countrymen, it was so pleasant to hear you. All of you have to know that Russia is doing just the same, along the same scheme. They are like using the guidance, like a manual, what they did last year concerning the energy situation. The first day blocked the supply of energy to make the prices skyrocket. And they are doing the same in the food security situation to show the world that Russia is ostensibly a savior that can save the world from this situation. As for the security guarantees for our country, it is also a very important topic. It is more broad than the previous topic because this is about security guarantees in terms of food and in terms of ensuring our territorial integrity and our sovereignty. Right now, the document is being developed together with our partners, the G7 states and other countries that are supporting us. It will set out the details to make sure that our people are not afraid of living in Ukraine and to ensure that we are able to build a progressive system of security for our state. And I'm confident that this system will be there to be used as an experience, as a model for other countries.
Thank you very much. And from the United States, Josh Rogan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Last night, Japanese Prime Minister Kishida said, quote, "Ukraine today could be East Asia tomorrow." He was referring, of course, to China's campaign of economic and military coercion vis-a-vis Taiwan. This campaign is in the Russian mold. How do you recommend that Taiwan stand strong as China seeks to impose its control over a free people by force if necessary? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I think that today's example of Ukraine is the example for the whole world. The world must always support any action which is related to preemptive measures to forestall violence, forestall war, because there is no positive aspects coming from wars. No one benefits from it, apart from certain political leaders who are not content with the present level of their ambitions. Therefore, they keep growing their appetites and their ambitions. And this the world enables these leaders to grow their appetite for now. And therefore, we need a diplomatic resolution to support countries that are in need of help. We must not leave them behind at the mercy of another country which is more powerful in financial terms, in territorial terms, and in terms of equipment. And therefore, if there is a way out diplomatically, we need to use the diplomatic way. But it must be a preemptive way, not the one that comes after the war has started, after hostilities have broken out, after we have hundreds of thousands of casualties and even millions of casualties like we have in Ukraine. I mean, millions of people who have forcibly left their homes and are destined to other countries. There is a vast number of risks for other countries due to migration crisis, refugees. War does not benefit anyone apart from the ambitions of certain people. This is it. So the world must use preemptive measures
From Germany,
against such people.
Matthias Gebauer.
Mr. President, first of all, thanks to you to have the time for us. I have a question, and I'm sure you have been following the discussion in Western capitals in the last 1 or 2 weeks about how this war should go on, or to say it more concretely, how far Ukraine should push back Russia out of Ukraine. And for example, President Macron said, we should not allow that Russia is being provoked too much. That could be very dangerous and could trigger like other effects. I'm just wondering, it's rather a personal question to you. How does this discussion about what Ukraine or how far Ukraine could go, how does this affect your personal morale and furthermore the morale of your troops fighting against Russia at the moment?
Ukraine is in its own soil. Coming too far for Ukraine would mean to go to Russia's territory, and this is not what we are willing to do. We do not want to do it. We are not doing it. We do not have any such intentions or plans. We respect international law. We respect the sovereignty and territorial integrity of every nation. But please remember that the war is being waged on our territory. This is the war on our soil. People in Ukraine are dying. That is why we are exerting pressure on Russia on our soil. The Russian leadership cannot be comforted any longer. It is too late. We needed preventive sanctions. We needed deliberations with them. We needed financial sanctions before the full-blown war started. It had to be done before, and now there is no grey zone. If you are supporting peace at the moment, that you are supporting Ukraine, if you are supporting this concrete war, then you are trying to find an understanding with the Russian Federation. That is it. It is too late to discuss it. The Russian leadership has not to be consoled, comforted. No one can do it. This is a political game and nothing more. And I think that today the whole world must put the Russian leadership in place, and their place is on their territory. And this is where they should live, and this is where they should decide what to do with their lives.
President Zelensky, thank you for delivering the special address at the 19th Shangri-La Dialogue. We thank you very much for the honor that you have given us. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. In 27 minutes, you can attend special sessions at the IISS Shangri-La Dialogue. Thank you very much for your attendance.